I wonder how these tall buildings are made.
These buildings are made up of very small bricks. In fact, everything is made up of small units.
Including our bodies?
Yes, including all living things. Just like a building, all the organisms are made up of very tiny building blocks called cells. The cell is a structural and functional unit of all living things. Every living thing is made up of cells. Cells are so tiny that they cannot be seen by the naked eye, but all of them join to form a bigger organism that we can see. Just like a house cannot be pictured until you see all the bricks come together. The organisms that are made up of more than one cell are called multicellular organisms. Different types of cells have different functions. Many cells of the same type come together to perform the same function in a body. Can you name some multicellular organisms around you?
Plants, dogs, and insects.
Very good.
I understand now that multi means many. So, the organisms must have many cells to become multicellular.
Yes, but organisms can also be unicellular.
Unicellular?
Let's take a closer look. Why don't you get some water from the pond so we study it under a microscope?
What's a microscope?
It's an instrument we use to see objects that are too small to be seen by the naked eye. So, Spiky, what do you see?
Oh, there are tiny insects in the water.
No, Spiky, those are not insects. They are unicellular organisms. We couldn't see them before because a single cell is impossible to see with the naked eye, which is why we are using this microscope.
So, what are unicellular organisms?
Organisms that function as one cell are called unicellular organisms. These insect-like organisms are amoeba, paramecium, and euglena. Euglena has both plant and animal-like characteristics. See, it has a chloroplast in its cell for photosynthesis, which is also present in plants, but unlike plants, it can move from one place to another with the help of a long whip-like structure called flagellum. These cells can move, which is why we say they have animal-like characteristics. This one here is an amoeba. It can change its shape and move with the help of pseudopodia. Pseudopodia are false feet that an amoeba forms so it can move. Look, can you see it? Another very common unicellular organism is paramecium.
They look so different. It looks like it's got hair.
Yes, Spiky, these hair-like structures are called cilia. A paramecium can move quite fast with the help of these small hair-like structures.
I can see some green leafy strings as well, but they don't look like the others.
Oh, that's Spirogyra. It's a multicellular organism.
I thought multicellular would be bigger.
Well, cells are very, very tiny, so some multicellular organisms that are made up of fewer cells end up being microscopic, whereas those organisms that are made up of millions and billions of cells like us can be seen easily. But multicellular organisms, such as Spirogyra, are made up of fewer cells, which is why they cannot be seen by the naked eye. In Spirogyra, the cells are joined end to end to make thread-like structures known as a filament. However, most unicellular organisms are microscopic. Sometimes they live like a colony which is why we can see them without a microscope.
Uni means one, multi means many.
Unicellular organisms are usually found in water bodies such as ponds, lakes, rivers, sea, or on moist areas of soil and tree trunks. Multicellular organisms are found in water, such as fish, in the air, such as an eagle, or on land, such as lions, or maybe a tree.
Most unicellular organisms are microscopic in size, which means they can only be seen with the help of a microscope. Whereas, most multicellular organisms are big enough to be seen.
The cells in a unicellular organism are not organized. They can perform all the processes of life, such as moving about, feeding, and respiring, with the help of one cell alone. On the other hand, multicellular organisms have organized structure of cells, where each type of cell has a special job to do and supports one another. Time for an exercise! If a group of unicellular organisms are living and working together as a colony, is this colony a multicellular organism? No, it isn't. A unicellular organism can carry out all life processes on its own. All the organisms in a group of unicellular organisms will be carrying out their own functions separately. If one cell dies, the other can still live on as they do not need one another to function. In a multicellular organism, the same type of cells work together to perform a single function. For example, our tongue is made up of many cells that all work together to help us taste food. Let's summarize. A cell is a structural and functional unit of living things. Organisms that have only one cell are called unicellular organisms, such as amoeba and paramecium. Organisms that function with many cells are called multicellular organisms, such as plants and human beings.